Yeah. Step in the ring. Gotta play my life on this song. Yeah. Yeah. When the spotlight sparks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show. Hitting the marks. Once up in the ring, it's a war zone start. Roman Reigns with the spear, leave a legacy mark. Kenny Omega with the V-trigger, cleaner than art. MJF talk slick, cut promos that scar. Okada with the rainmaker, money flows hard. Seth Rollins curb stomp, burn it down, no guard. John Mox with the paradigm shift, blood in the yard. Jay White with the blade runner, switchblade sharp. Bianca Belair, whip crack, hair snap charge. Will Ospreay with the hidden blade, aerial barrage. Claudio swinging bodies like a carnival park. Darby Allin directless, paint face dark. Saw the flare figure eight, legacy arc. Hangman Page, buckshot, cowboy spark. Ricochet flips insane, gravity disc bar. The Young Bucks, super kick party, double tap start. From AEW to WEROH to NJPW charts. Every move, every feud, every pop from the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show, hitting the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show, hitting the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Spotlight sparks, spotlight sparks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Spotlight sparks, hitting the marks. I mean media.
That's a banger. I'm just saying. I know I wrote it. It's still a banger. It is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. You're tuned into the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast, powered by the Hameen Media Group, patreon.com/Hameen Media Group, and of course, presented by the HTM Podcast Network. On this week's show, we're talking the legacy of John Cena, Elimination Chamber, and much, much more. But before we dive in, it's my obligation to remind you this is a podcast by the fans for the fans, bringing you all the news that is news from across the professional wrestling world. Keep up with the show by searching Hitting the Marks on your favorite podcast listening device. My name is Dr. Michael Jargo, PhD, and of course, I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend. He is the real RBV. Huckleberry, welcome back. Week 2, baby. We on it.
Actually, hey, Jargo, you might have written that, but nobody jams harder to it than me. Yeah, it's me, that Auto the Beat of the Bee, Richard Bronson Vickery, back again, riding shotgun here on the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast. Hey, I do want a big thank you to everybody for the kind words across social media, especially those of you that reached out to myself and Jargo with such high praise for last week's return. And we are just getting burning, brother. Hey, I'm looking forward to this episode. I'm going a little nostalgia, feeling a little old school, going back to a place where I used to rule. I used to dominate a little home away from home, and that's in the courtroom, brother.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to Kayfabe Court. That's going to be fun. First time we're busting that segment
thank
out.
God, Kayfabe. I'm just used to those real courtrooms.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, there is that. But we get to put John Cena on trial tonight. I'm looking forward to that. The legacy
of John Cena.
And it looks like we may have to do another one of these episodes because last night on Monday Night Raw, we saw the official quote unquote retirement of the phenomenal AJ Styles. And Rick, I got to admit, I was a little teary-eyed at the end. I mean, AJ, to me, in the post WCW landscape, was the guy who showed an entire generation of wrestling fans that there was professional wrestling outside of WWE. I mean, his presence in TNA was the reason to watch the show. I tuned in for AJ Styles. And then there was a lot of other stuff going on. And then, of course, they brought in all the big former WWE names. But when they were doing Tuesday night pay-per-views for $10 a piece from the Asylum, you tuned in to see AJ Styles. That, to me, that is AJ's legacy. He showed me that there could still exist professional wrestling outside of a WWE context.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. We go all the way back when, all these great options that we had in professional wrestling. World Championship Wrestling, Extreme Championship Wrestling, some indies that were starting to pop up at that time, and they suddenly disappear. And there's one game left. It's World Wrestling Entertainment. And oh, what is this? What is this here that we got going on? It's a different kind of model. It's a weekly pay-per-view. And who's the first guy there carrying that torch? Mr. AJ Styles. And believe it or not, he's putting over the Flying Elvises. You know, he showed he's going to put in that work, and he would become synonymous, the face that built that place, that will forever be linked with any success, the ups, the downs, wherever they have gone. It will forever be linked with AJ Styles. And I think what is really so cool, you look at the career, is AJ didn't break a mold, didn't set a new bar. He really redefined a standard of the path you had to take to get there. And he did it completely opposite. When WCW was purchased out, he turned down relocating to Louisville, to OVW for that training. Didn't think it would be fair to the family at that time, but he still continued to pursue that dream, chase what his goals, what he was going after. We mentioned he signs with Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. Does some stuff traveling the world there. I think with, the World Wrestling All-Stars, things like that, all the hookups that he had. Goes to New Japan. How much credit do we give AJ Styles for really opening the doors and welcoming the Eastern style in that modern rush to the West? AJ Styles was at the forefront, again, a flag bearer for that, carrying that torch. Then to show up 10 years ago, remember where I was at, what I was doing, the pop, the emotion, the rush that I felt. Sitting there with my old friend Kevin Mize at Main Street Tavern as they're having a Rumble party, and you don't recognize the music at first, but you see Phenomenal on that thing, and you absolutely lose it. You're not supposed to, this isn't supposed to happen. You don't go right to a main roster like that. You're overlooked. You're done, buddy. And then to have the career that he had there, AJ Styles, truly phenomenal in every sense. Last night, closing segment, very heartfelt, very touching. You and I were talking, Jarko, before we hit live here. What really stuck out to each of us is he's talking about all the, I'll pun it up, phenomenal things that he's done. But the one thing he's missed out on is being a full-time dad and pointing to his beautiful family and all the support that they have given him, living the dream with him there. And he wants to do that. I think that's when it really set in. Yeah, this is it. This is real. This is what he wants. And I think in that sense, what a beautiful send-off that he had last night. And of course, being the little toast to it all at the end, being inducted by Michelle McCool's husband, being told that he'll be inducted into this year's Hall of Fame class.
Yeah, I thought the symbolism was really, really cool. And I love the Undertaker's new gimmick. Right? He has literally become the professional wrestling Undertaker. When your wrestling character dies, the Undertaker shows up to bring you to the WWE Hall of Fame for eternity. Like, he is literally the professional wrestling Undertaker now. I love this gimmick. I hope they keep this going. Like, it is so cool to me that the dead man is the one that's just like, come with me. Like, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. So, and it's, and they needed some pizzazz. They needed a little oomph. We're going to talk about Elimination Chamber coming up, what that means for the road to WrestleMania. We got a lot of great conversation there, but this is a little bit of that. This is something you want to pay attention to. If you were a fan, of professional wrestling, this is one of those moments that you got to believe you want to be there for. AJ Styles might be a little bit of a swing for people that were on that fence about making the trip out there.
AJ to NXT. Is that the next thing? Like, I imagine he's going to go home. He's going to spend time with the wife and the kids. But when AJ's like, okay, I've got to go back to work. Like, I have to do something, even if I'm not going to be a professional wrestler. Is AJ one of those guys?
You look at the kids. You look at the kids' ages.
Him as a trainer there.
You look at the kids' ages. There's probably a lot to keep him busy right now. Looks like they're just heading into their teen years. There's going to be a lot of sports, a lot of activities, a lot of things that he is going to definitely want to be there for. Interesting question, because, you are going to eventually at some point get a little bit of that itch. After all these years, his entire...
he's like 48, right? I think that's what I heard. He's 48
and he's
years
been
old.
He's broke in what, the late 90s?
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't know anything else. And Uncle Al doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's just going to sit on his front porch in Georgia and, drink beer and talk about his glory days. Like he's still a fairly young dude. Like he could work as a part-time trainer at NXT, still have a paycheck.
I can see a lot of guest spots there. Where's Cody's school at? Yeah. Isn't that down there in Atlanta? That's close to him.
Oh yeah. That's a good one too.
Could do something down there with them, he's definitely got to have some kind of roles, things like that, making these appearances. But
I guess my question is he too much Michael Jordan, right? Like, I don't think Michael Jordan would be a very good basketball coach. Magic Johnson was not a very good basketball coach because they have this like God-given talent to do what it is that they do. And they can't teach somebody else to do that because they don't have that God-given talent. Like, is AJ the kind of guy that you want training that next generation? Would he even be a good teacher?
Well, we do hear so many times that the younger generation that is coming up today, that they do reference, they go to AJ for that. Mm-hmm. So it does seem like he is relatable in that sense. Now, I do think, as we're talking about like an on-air personality, if he can come in and do like panels and things like that, that might not be his cup of tea. That doesn't seem like it would where he would really thrive at. But I think he would be good in that coaching role because and it's a different perspective because he came up differently, played by a different set of rules and found that tremendous success.
We talk so much about pacing. Like last week, we were talking about Moxley and the pacing of his matches. AJ was always great at that too. Like he knew when to let things breathe. He knew when to turn it up. Like a phenomenal career. We may have to do a retrospective on the career of AJ Styles because, man, is there a lot to pull from there, especially when you go back to those TNA days. And he's a guy that adapted his style very well to WWE. I mean, because there's a lot of moves that a lot of people would love to see AJ Styles do again. There's a lot of moves AJ Styles has said, I don't think I can do that anymore. But that was kind of the question with him going into WWE. Like, how is AJ Styles going to wrestle a WWE style? I mean, have you ever seen one of his matches? And he killed it. Like he adapted his style better than anybody I've ever seen. And he did it multiple times because there was a huge difference in the style between TNA and New Japan and Ring of Honor and WWE. Like jack of all trades, man. AJ can give you any kind of match you want.
Always stay liquid, being able to adjust on the move, know your surroundings, what is needed. That's what made him so great and what thrived. Last night during the show, we were interacting back and forth on the text machine, and I was a little peeved. Like, this is what we're getting. Like you throw a party for me, I'd like you to invite me. And I wish that they even would have like played into that. He's on his way to the arena. We're going to have a grand entrance for, why wasn't the NASCAR thing for him? Why didn't he get to pull up in the Michael Jordan Daytona 500 winning, spinning donuts in the parking lot? Heart of Atlanta, good old Southern boy.
So weird. Like that
should have been the NASCAR. That should have been the AJ spot.
Well, it shouldn't have been Punk. That's for sure. Like that is like the antithesis of everything that is the opposite of CM Punk. You think CM Punk has ever watched a NASCAR race? You think he knew
Michael
who Tyler
Jordan,
Reddick was?
Chicago?
But I guess
I was like, where right now? You guys are talking about ticket sales. Where right now? They should have been. I guess because you got that announcement. Hopefully, we get it going here. But they should have had the retirement merchandise, the retirement gloves and T-shirt. Ready to go. Get it on shop.com. We best get Friday night on SmackDown, the Vegas Hall of Fame package for AJ Styles. Those are just the things that, they were eating at me watching the thing. But to be in that moment, and it is about what it was for AJ Styles. We didn't need to do any business, anything like that. It was for him, and it was a great send-off for him.
The best part of the show for me was Gunther getting booed out of the building for claiming the entire thing was a farce. I thought that was fantastic. And then the show was all downhill after Gunther. But I thought Gunther was absolutely fantastic last night and being like, why are we celebrating a loser? We should be out here celebrating me. I'm the winner. Like, I thought it was great. And Dragon Lee continues to go at Gunther. This is leading to Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania, right? WrestleMania, Gunther retires Rey Mysterio. That's where all this is leading. And then Dirty Dom and Gunther are best friends forever.
Interesting. We'll see where we're going there. I guess there's some appeal there with Gunther. A lot of direction, a lot of things still up in the air for WrestleMania. Maybe they need to.
Dragon Lee is the bridge, right? Because he was tag team partners with AJ Styles, and Rey Mysterio called Dragon Lee the future of Lucha Libre. So Gunther does his thing against Dragon Lee. It's not a career match, but he beats the ever-loving hell out of Dragon Lee. Rey comes out to make the save. Yep. And Rey sticks up for Dragon Lee, and Gunther says, WrestleMania, your career on the line, right? And so we add Rey Mysterio to Gunther's growing career killer list.
We'll see if we get there. I'm interested in that conversation.
What else is the Gunther?
What else is there to do for Gunther? That's the problem.
That's the problem all the way up and down the card right now. We're going to talk about poor Drew McIntyre here in a little bit, but it's a weird place for WWE because they have some stuff that's really, really good and some stuff that's just not.
They do.
And it really hit me last night with Punk because that Punk promo last night, it was not good. The crowd was totally not into it. And my biggest fear when they started this Roman and Punk thing was, how are you going to sustain this for 2 months? We're not off to a very good start. It's been 2 weeks and it already feels very flat. They got to do something next week in Indianapolis to really turn this up.
I'm going to hold that thought because I think there's a lot more into where the audience is right now when we get to this Elimination Chamber. I'm going to hold that thought. Hey, stay with us. Little teaser there for you.
Yes, we will talk some Elimination Chamber, but Huckleberry, it's time for the monologue. And to borrow a phrase from our good friend Mark Briscoe, the word of the week is polarization. Polarization, ladies and gentlemen. The monologue.
When the crowd noise fades and the spotlight grows, there's a voice in the silence that everybody knows. Settle in, lean close, let the story unfold. This is the monologue where the truth gets told.
Yeah, shout out to Jimmy T for the idea for the video. Like that. So the monologue for this week, polarization. It didn't arrive overnight. It crept in slowly, like a fog rolling across the country. And at first, it was a little bit harder to talk to people who saw the world a little bit differently than you. And then it became uncomfortable. And then it became impossible. And now, in too many instances, it's starting to feel a little bit dangerous. We've reached this point where people aren't just disagreeing. We're living in two completely different worlds. Two neighbors can watch the same event, i.e. the State of the Union tonight, and walk away believing two completely different stories. Not because one of them is lying, but because the information that they consume has become engineered to confirm what you already believe. And when you live inside of a bubble like that long enough, the world outside of it starts to look like a threat. And that's the real cause of polarization. It's not the arguments, it's not the debates, it's the erosion of trust. Trust in institutions, trust in your communities, trust in one another. We've forgotten how to assume good faith. And when we say, I hear you, even when we don't agree. We've forgotten that disagreement is not disrespect. And if you want a metaphor for that, a living, breathing, body-slamming metaphor, it's, of course, professional wrestling. Because wrestling is built on conflict. It thrives on tension. It sells the idea that two people can't stand one another. But behind the curtain, the truth is, of course, the opposite. The best matches, the ones that we talk about for years, like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, they only happen when performers trust each other completely. The heel needs the babyface needs the heel. The chemistry, the timing, the drama, none of it works unless both sides are committed to making the other one look strong. So imagine if we as a society could remember that. Imagine if we just understood that our differences don't weaken us, they create a story. Because professional wrestling fans, we know polarization too. We see it in tribalism with promotions. You see it in online wars between fan bases. You see it when people treat their favorite company like a political party and their favorite wrestler like a candidate. And suddenly it's not about enjoying the show anymore. It's about proving that you're superior. Sound familiar? And yet wrestling also shows us the antidote to polarization. because every legendary feud ends the same way. The two guys who tore each other up, they stand tall together. Maybe it's a handshake, maybe it's a nod, just that quiet moment in the ring when the crowd realizes we've actually seen something cool. The moment, the recognition of the shared effort. It's a bridge. It's the reminder that even the fiercest rivals are in the same business. They're in the same locker room. They're in the same community. So how do we do that as a society? We start by choosing connection over certainty. We start listening long enough to understand, not just to reload our next argument. We start by remembering that the person across from us, not a villain in a storyline. It's a human being with fears, hopes, maybe experiences that we don't fully understand. And if we can rebuild that trust the same way wrestlers build a match, communication, vulnerability, the willingness to protect each other, even when we're on opposite sides. We stop treating every disagreement like a cage match, start treating it like a tag team match, where the goal is to lift each other up, not to tear each other down. Because the truth is, we're all on the same card. We're all part of the same show. And the story only works when we work together. And if we can rediscover that, bring back some empathy, respect, a belief that community is something we build, not something that we inherit, then polarization loses its power. That's the monologue. Huckleberry, what do you got to say?
Well said, well put together there. Again, professional wrestling is life. And I really speak, it does speak volumes to where we are at as a society, as a country, for those of you listening in these great United States of ours. Juggy said we are probably moments away from the beginning of the State of the Union address, and some of the big news that is surrounding that isn't about who's going to be there, but about who isn't going to be there. And that is some of our Olympic champions. And most notably, the surrounding around the invites of our gold medal winning hockey teams on both the women's and the men's side. So where this has become now part of a political agenda, it is absolutely ridiculous to embarrassing, because this should have been a time to remind us that despite our differences, despite those divides, that we can still unite under the call letters USA, the red, white, and blue. We could still come together to find some common ground, some celebration to unify. This is, the teams being there isn't about them trying to make some kind of political statement. It should be a focus on letting the fans, their countrymen, those that stood there, that supported, that woke up in the wee hours of Sunday morning after 46 years to see U.S. men's hockey go out there in the biggest event of the Winter Games against the greatest team maybe ever assembled, the greatest nation for that game in Canada, to go out there in such thrilling fashion, overtime victory, to do that, to come together and celebrate that. But no, we are still using that as a political divide and a device. I understand, there are things much bigger than sport, but sometimes we can just sit back and relax and use that to uplift our spirits in those sense. But well said, Mr. Jargo.
It's such a weird time. Like seeing, why can't we just all watch the same stuff? And if you like AEW more than you like WWE, cool, bro. Then tell us how great AEW is. Don't tell us how crappy WWE is.
That is one of my big gripes in any argument. Not an argument, debate, conversation, however you want to go about it. If your reply, if your defense, offense, whatever, your strategy is I always call it the schoolyard defense. But teacher, Johnny was wrong. We're not talking about what they're doing. We're talking about this. We're talking about what you are doing. So, and as you said too, instead of immediately, well, they did this in WWE. We're not talking about what they're doing in WWE. We're talking about what they did in AEW. Let's focus on this. It's just that distraction game of a sense that throws me off with it. But I do think it's one of those funny things in wrestling. Wrestling's the only place that I really hear where everyone crybabies about tribalism. Everywhere else, it's embraced. because it creates competition or rivalry. It lets you belong to something of that nature. I know you're a Yankee fan. Who's going to tell you, well, Jarko, you've got to wear Red Sox stuff too, because we should just love baseball. We're Duke fans. We ain't going to be sporting Carolina baby blue. And I sure as hell, as I sit here in the great state of the OHIO, will be damned if I ever got an M of any sorts.
But I feel like
because
different.
I should just represent the Big Ten in college football. No.
But I feel like it's a little bit different because while I appreciate what you're saying, that seems more like individual wrestlers, right? Like I feel like the teams would be the individual wrestlers. These are the fans of the organization. So it's not like you don't see basketball fans telling football fans why football sucks.
A little bit,
and football fans telling basketball fans, well, this is why your sport sucks. Like, it's okay to be a fan of both leagues. You know what I mean? Even if there's people inside of those leagues, like fucking Boston, you know, that I'm not going to pull for them. I'm not going to pull for them. I cannot imagine any scenario on the face of this planet where I would pull for Maxine Dupree to win a match. I can't. She's like the Boston Red Sox. I cannot imagine any scenario where I would imagine myself pulling for Maxine Dupree. She is the Boston Red Sox. She sucks. She's awful. She should just throw them out of the league. I mean, kick her off of the roster. I mean, no, Maxine Dupree sucks. And nobody's going to convince me otherwise.
But I think that's what fuels it. You know, one of the hottest times ever professional wrestling, arguably the greatest, is the Attitude Era. And that was because of Monday Night Wars.
Yep.
Because we had that. Realistically, we came from, and there was more of us than not that loved both sides of it. You know, I went out my summer job and saved up so I could get a television chip to install into my PC so that I could watch them both simultaneously. So I had two televisions in my room. I didn't have to miss or tape or flip back and forth. But there were those groups where I'd go to school on Tuesday and I'd go talk to my WCW friends.
Yeah,
and then I'd go talk to my WWF friends, you know, because there was at the time. And it made it fun. And it was that great rivalry there. Well, we got DX going on over here. We got they're just rip off the NWO. You know, right. We're spray painting Dave. We're running tanks today. You know, that's what it was about. It's about the rivalry and camaraderie. Now you have to be intelligent enough as an individual to realize that's where it ends. Believe me, some of the best times I have watching games is going out with my buddy Bob Holcamp, who is a diehard Michigan fan, and sitting with him, kicking back, enjoying that game, and just going at it with each other. We know at the end of the day, we're still the same people. Whoever wins or loses that game, it's not directly affecting our lives. But we have a good time in that moment, and it ups the excitement level, the emotional investment, and just the camaraderie just between us as friends when you can get into something like that.
Absolutely, because there's things that me and Rick don't agree about. There's a lot of things that we don't agree about.
And there's a lot of different reasons why we watch wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can go through a whole show without watching bell to bell and give you probably 5 pages of notes on what I liked and did not like about that show.
Well, you can't watch anything bell to bell at this point, Rick, because the formatting of the TV show is so freaking bad that even if you wanted to watch something bell to bell, you couldn't, because you have to have at least 2 to 3 commercial breaks inside of a 20-minute match. The only time that we can go to commercial is during matches. And I don't understand it. I thought that Netflix was going to solve this problem. I thought that now that we're on Netflix and we don't have like time constrictions, that we could actually, you know, show you a match from bell to bell and then go to commercial break and then come back from commercial and do the next segment. And I mean, like, I understand if you're having a 20-minute match that, yeah, you have to have a commercial break in there, Last night, as I was trying to watch Raw, the formatting of that show is terrible. The only time they go to commercial is during matches. And if you have a match that's going 20 minutes, they'll show you at least 3 commercial breaks. It's absurd. You can't get into anything. It's this constant up and down where it's just, oh my God, I just want to, if I tune into a football game, you know what I want to watch? Football. I tune into a wrestling show, you know what I want to watch? Professional wrestling. And maybe that's the reason that I was always such a New Japan guy, because when you're watching the New Japan shows, there's no commercial breaks. It is literally like nonstop action the entire time. But because everything is presented like a pay-per-view because it's on their streaming service. I mean, even their house shows are just bell to bell. And then if you want talking, you have to stick around until after all the matches and watch the press room. And I mean, like, it's presented, I don't know, like a sport. And AEW, you don't get off the hook here either. You said you were going to present professional wrestling like a sport, which made all of us New Japan fans very, very happy. And we were like, yay, we can watch American wrestling now, but with a sports-like format. No, you do the same shit constantly. And Tony Schiavone is now become like the second worst commentator in all of professional wrestling, right behind Booker T. Booker T is just intolerable, especially when he's trying to sing Joe Hendry's theme song. Like, I don't know who told him that was a good idea, but it's not Booker. Just stop. But AEW is just as bad with these commercial breaks in the middle of matches. It's like if I'm watching football and the Cincinnati Bengals are driving down the field, Joe Burrow is taking them down the field, and they get to the 40-yard line and they went to commercial, and then you came back and they were in the red zone, I would want to know what happened in the middle. Why is this so hard for American professional wrestling companies to understand? I don't get it.
Here's one of the major issues surrounding the current production and formatting of all professional wrestling shows in the West. There hasn't been a change in the style since going back to the Attitude Era. Really, since going back to WCW Nitro, who then did set a new format. Because, we went from the pre-tape, multiple weeks, going to the same arena, going to the control center thing. We went to that live up to, a very crisp, it lost kind of that raw, gritty feeling of the territory days of professional wrestling. It looked, 4K before it was 4K, all of that. We haven't had a change in how these shows have laid out since then. That's over a quarter century, 35 years that we have followed the same format to almost a damn T. And I have been beating my head against a wall here for the last year or so. Conversations with Hami, with Jimmy T, with the vet, anyone I've been on air with, trying to come up with what are the solutions? What sort of changes do we need? I just knew that we needed them. I wasn't sure. Now I'm starting to crack that code. The egg is starting to crack a little bit. We can start making some omelets here with this thing. But again, we need, with scheduling, more match announcements, more hooks. Thank God that these wrestlers are just roaming around in the back, just running into each other, setting up their own matches. I mean, these shows would only be like 20 minutes long, right? Everything's just kind of on the whim. Our focus, bad acting segments in the back, bad drug out in-ring mic time, doing nothing. Referencing back to last night, the pre-tapes, vignettes for Finn Balor, amazing. I really felt something there from Ben. The live segment in the clubhouse, terrible. Threw everything else in the trash. Completely erases it away. WWE right now, they're there for that event experience. They are so overwhelmed, concentrating on the pop moments. We had 3 opens last night to the show. Get the Gunther thing, hot open. Then we go to Cody Rhodes' entrance for another hot open. And then within 35 minutes of that, we got a NASCAR showing up. They're just going for these pops. All these long entrances that they feel the need to show. We get those without any kind of breaks usually, unless you're like, right. You're down, you're unimportant on that card if you're not getting your entrance in there. Those are wearing thin on your home audience. You are the one that brought this to my attention, talked about it, and I have shared this with countless talents in indie locker rooms. On your entrance, you have got 7 to 10 seconds to grab that audience in the arena at home, and then they're gone. That's why you have the glass shattering. If you smell the dung, it's those things that grab you. Then show us those, then go to a damn commercial if you needed to. Take your break inside of those. Don't not ring the bell. Let's go right to break here and then a picture-in-picture. No, I mean, we are drawn out on that. If you want your pops, know how to schedule them. We need more interactive, more detailed things, tail of the tape sort of things. Whatever to the picture-in-picture. Man, I used to love this picture-in-picture interview on the way to the ring. Use that to double down on your business. Make the most of your time. Instead of just cheesy, terrible backstage segments where people happen to just be running by each other and passing or interrupting a GM to make something set up.
Millie, what are you doing, baby?
One of the most powerful things I ever heard Vince Russo talk about when he was with Creative is that he would, through the city, drive through and look at landmarks. But especially when they got to the arena, they would take the time to walk around to make something feel unique in that town. To leave a statement, a symbol of where they were at. You could feel the energy, what that area stood for. They would intertwine that into the show. We get none of that anymore.
You get bump shots. That's about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, because
you'll get a bump shot while they're plugging everything that's going to be on the WWE Podcast Network this week.
Well, and what's okay, here's another thing with that. We got a little sneak peek last night. I really enjoyed this part of this. I wish we would have got
keys.
I wish we would have got 4 to 5 of those little 90-minute segments throughout the show with the Keys interview.
Yeah.
Why not run that throughout the show, continuing to plug? We get one little hit on something and they move right on from it. We're not getting these teasers. We didn't get a Brock Lesnar teaser until the segment before Brock Lesnar. He's one of the biggest draws in your company.
That was one of the things that I loved about AEW when it was starting that never came to fruition. But Cody Rhodes came out and said, you do not have to watch shoulder content. Everything will be canon on Dynamite. If it doesn't happen on Dynamite, it's not canon. And it was just like, oh, thank God, I don't have to watch all this other crap.
Yeah, that lasted about a month.
Maybe a month. And WWE has gotten just as bad with this podcast network. Where
with the podcast, so we need content to fill these hours instead of cut match time, cut entrances, cut these back. That thing with Keys is would do like I said, if you give me 4 or 5 segments at 90 seconds a pop of that throughout that show, that's going to do more to get him over than anything they're going to do in that unreal creative room. That is real speak there. That's a connection you're going to make with that audience. Then you're plugging whichever podcast. It doesn't have to be Stephanie's every week. Use a different one and tell that kind of story. One of the things ECW did back in the day with Terry Funk, this was a great strategy that they employed there. Their hour-long program, they ran an interview with Terry Funk, and they cut it up into like 4 or 5 minute pieces throughout the hour.
So the McFoley interview.
Or it was the Foley one.
The sit down with JR. I mean, that's another
I think it was the same strategy that they used there. So just that interview has you hooked throughout the entire show. Why everything else is kind of, all the other gears are interturning and winding, and the machine is rolling forward. Instead of boom, 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 as you always called it, Saturday Night Live skit show, where we just move on from Mr. Peepers to It's Pat. And they're done. Keep things moving together.
There's no continuity at all.
The AJ Styles should have been so more involved last night God, what an emotional payoff. We should have been peaking way more by the time he made his entrance there because of all the great memories. Yep. And it's again, what they do with their creative, what they do with their marketing. It is so frustrating because it's like, damn, they know the direction they should be going in. They're right there to hit the mark. And then they're missing. We're only getting like 30% effort from this company.
And
it's the same for AEW. It's the exact same for AEW.
Oh, yeah,
I watch this from a marketing media standpoint. I love the business side of this thing, and I just get so frustrated when I see, like, man, that's like the White Castle stuff. That's a pretty cool partnership. The NFL announcement with the Lucha mask. That's damn cool. So proud of Tony for finally putting on the big boy pants, business pants, and
Right.
stepping in there and getting something done with his connections. He owns a freaking NFL team. This was long overdue. But where is the execution at? It's not there.
Yep.
And it's falling short. So the possibilities, the potential of where pro wrestling actually could be. Everyone praises what a great time it is in professional wrestling. It's the best time. No, that's a facade, but it could be. And that's the frustrating part.
Yep. I completely agree. And it ties into that whole polarization thing, right? Where you have the live audience and then you have the people watching at home. And you brought up that Finn Balor promo. The thing that really stood out to me was they show Punk's entrance, go to break when Punk finally gets in the ring, come back from break, then they do the Balor package, and then go back to Punk in the ring. Cult of Personality must have played like 4 freaking times front to back, waiting for them to finally get back to Punk. Maybe that's why the promo went over like a fart in church. Like the crowd was like, we just do not want to hear a Cult of Personality anymore.
We're done rocking out. We're done rocking out the Cult of Personality.
Like, good God. He must have been standing there for like 7-8 minutes. Doing what?
Yeah.
Doing what?
And I do got to put over this morning on I Like It Raw, the final I Like It Raw. Even Big Ray's like, yeah, you got to see a Punk out there like, this was about AJ Styles. And then CM Punk proceeds to talk about himself for 20 minutes.
Yeah, right? I mean, yeah. I did like that he threw in there that Finn Balor ruined the last Raw match of AJ Styles. It was like, oh, yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how WWE, the last match that AJ Styles has on national television, no finish.
And what is so cool?
Like, we couldn't even get a clean finish there.
What's so cool with professional wrestling, and when we make that comparison with sports, the NFL has to pretty much follow a standard production format schedule because the game is the game. You can't say, this week we're going to mix up, play the third quarter for, or we're going overtime rules. In wrestling, you have that ability. You can change the characters. You can change the script. You can change the format. So you don't maybe come up with 4 or 5 different decks and shuffle them together at different times.
Yeah.
It's so head scratching. It's just not head scratching. Just beat your head against a freaking wall. And a lot of times with SmackDown, it's like, this show wouldn't be bad if I didn't have another 90 minutes to get through.
Yeah, SmackDown is the most unwatchable wrestling show on television right now.
It is,
and it's because it's 3 hours. I mean, most weeks they have maybe 2 hours worth of content that they are stretching into being a 3-hour show. And it's just goes on and on and on and on and on. Speaking of SmackDown, here's a very random question for you. Where are you with Kit Wilson? Do you like Kit Wilson? Do you hate Kit Wilson?
This is another completely missed opportunity and understanding and half-ass creative from the Unreal Gang. First of all, toxic masculinity was like a thing a year ago. So professional wrestling is behind the curve.
5 years ago.
5 years ago. I don't think they understand what the hell it even means. This could have been great coming out of the gate with some nice vignettes, visiting attractions in the city to personalize that with the programming where he's interacting with the community.
Oh, that'd be great. I can just imagine him like hanging out at the War Memorial next week here in Indianapolis. And no matter who he talks to, they're toxic. Oh, it'd be great. It'd be great.
Yes.
Oh my God. It'd be so funny.
I'm sure, I don't know where SmackDown's this week. I'm sure it's near Chicago somewhere, let me get him up there in Boys Town doing some vignettes.
It's crazy because it's working. Like when he first started it, and I was like, like it feels like very mid-card comedy gimmick.
It's only
it
feels like because it's working. It's a little different right now. It's going to get stale real fast because they don't understand it.
Yeah,
I thought reading it, the poetry stuff isn't anything profound. He's not the genius. I mean, it's nothing that's lighting it up that really makes you think. The only thing I pop for that is because I just like watching Obafemi kick people's ass.
Yeah. Well, I was popping for Oba being like, oh, that's good. Read another one. I don't have read another one. You know?
I think it's just more Oba that's over because
Yeah, I was popping at Oba. I was absolutely popping at Oba. It was funny enough here to go back to the Brock Lesnar comparison. It reminded me of when Brock Lesnar was dancing with the Money in the Bank briefcase like it was a boombox, and he was like breakdancing with it. Oh, it was great. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I will freaking pop like no other if we get the Oba and Brock Lesnar match and they're like doing a nose to nose on a red or blue brand, and Kit pops up there to read a poem about talking. He wants to, and they both just, and it's like the last that we ever see of Kitty Cat.
Yeah, and then the Undertaker comes for Kit Wilson because his wrestling character is dead. But
he's not going to no Hall of Fame, but he's going to
No, but the dead man's still coming. The dead man's still coming.
I think it is. It's a little fresh right now because it's something so different than SmackDown, where you got everybody in that mid card chasing that stupid US challenge that's going out there, no selling, going 150 miles per hour in 20-minute matches, missing spots, botching stuff with them. So you're going to stand out for something like that. I think they don't understand what that character should be, and it's going to miss.
Yeah, I agree. Even though it's good, it is good. I enjoy me some Kit
Wilson. It did take me over a month to learn his name now.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm guilty of that too. Let's continue down the polarization trail. Let's talk a little bit of John Cena, because I think when it comes to polarization inside of professional wrestling, John Cena was kind of the living embodiment of polarization inside of the world of professional wrestling. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks, right? Before we get into the defense of John Cena and the prosecution of John Cena, we weren't doing the show, obviously, during the Cena farewell tour. So let's take everything up until he turned babyface again. Once he turned babyface again, and we had that last little leg of the John Cena farewell tour. What did you think of the Cena farewell tour? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Like, where were you with it?
This goes right back to about getting 30% of what we needed, what this should have been. This is an incredible legacy, this entire career. We're going to talk about where it actually stands. But yes, this is one of the greatest legacies in professional wrestling history. 2 decades at the top of the game here. In that final run, almost threw that in the trash. I know on the first season Unreal, they kind of joked about, like, all these great stories that we've had all these years. How can one chapter ruin a book? And it almost did that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I think I get it.
Even from the get-go, what we learned on this thing that, when John came back and made the announcement, he said, I'm going to give this my all. I gave my all while I was at the top. To get to the top, to even get to the WWE, to get to the top, why I was at the top? To break all these records, to set these new standards. I want to give that to you. TKO business model, premium, the premium era is here. Stepped in and said, John, we don't need you for 80 dates. We don't need you for 60. We can get premium dollar for you at 35 dates. That's what handcuffed creative there. So now everything you want to do, this farewell, this love letter that he is set to write to the fans, is now, you don't get 10 pages, John. You get a paragraph. That handcuffs him absolutely right there. But you still talk about the legacy, the power of the C Nation, how polarizing he was to evoke emotion on which side of the fence that you were. What are we talking about right now? And I'll throw this out here. Exhibit A, Mr. Jargo, people of the jury listening here with us. Stealing headlines and news from professional wrestling right now is the struggling Wrestlemania ticket sales. Variety reports indicate numbers are down as 10,000 tickets per night right now. 18% financially from where we were last year. Well, it's kind of puzzling. An event as hot as WrestleMania, in the hotbed tourist attraction that is Las Vegas. These surefire business strategies of TKO. What's wrong? What's different, Jargo? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, our listeners there. Oh, it's John Cena. John Cena isn't there to save them this year. Last year, that farewell tour carried them globally to how many record gates? Because John Cena was on the docket. John Cena was headlining the card. Remove him. We are already down at Wrestlemania. I have a feeling we're going to see it across the board as we get into more of these global events coming up this season, because there is no John Cena. There is no major selling point. John Cena, even in last year, showed why he was so important to this company, Jargo. And that's just to kick things off here. You want to talk about numbers with him. You're a numbers guy. I knew I had to come with some numbers, but I had to stand a chance in this conversation with you. John Cena headlines 8 out of the 10 highest selling pay-per-views in WWE history. 15 of 18 years, John Cena, number one merchandise for the company. During Cena's reign as top of the company, we saw unmatched significant growth in revenue, advertising, merchandising, TV distribution, and global expansion. John Cena was the fire and gasoline that powered the PR machine. Red Eye flights, hitting all those interviews, hitting all the public appearances, and oh yeah, right back to the grueling WWE touring schedule that they had to go by for the majority of his career. Let's not forget about the record setting. Never seen. No, not that 17. Always seen. Over 650 Make-A-Wishes granted. That's over 650 Make-A-Wishes. That's a Guinness World Record. No one's done it more. Touch more kids. Well, I don't want to bring up Epstein Island, but emotionally touch more kids than John Cena. And you might find a small handful of individuals out there that claim that Cena held them down from success, held maybe down the business. One of your favorites, another GOAT, Michael Jordan, carried the same attitude. John Cena wasn't holding people down. They just weren't ready to rise up. John Cena, he demanded excellence. And that's what he represented for decades at his top of the company there. Will we get there? 0 domestic violence charges, 0 sex scandals or outrage over racial slurs, 0 public drunken incidents, just excellence, just the GOAT, just John Cena.
That's it? That's your case?
That's my opening. Whatever you got to fire back on, baby.
Well, number one, I did the jingle and you didn't give me a chance. So
welcome to the courtroom where the logic comes up short. Heels plead guilty, faces blame creative in the kayfabe court. Gavel hits the mat, someone yells that was it in the report. Case dismissed, crowd was pissed. This is kayfabe court.
I actually found video of John Cena being arrested. I had to use that. I had to use it.
I was all emotionally fired up there. You should have told me to hold on.
Well, you want to talk about Cena's legacy? Well, let's talk about the part that WWE refuses to put in the video packages. Let's talk some numbers, because numbers don't chant, numbers don't boo, numbers don't get worked, and numbers tell the truth. And the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, that during the John Cena era, WWE's business didn't grow, it shrank. Not because Cena wasn't talented, not because he didn't work hard, but because the product built around him and the creative decisions, the booking philosophy, and the PG identity slowly drained the life out of the company. And let's start with the most obvious metric. When Cena became face of the WWE in 2005, Monday Night Raw averaged 4 to 4.5 million viewers per week. By 2010, that was down to 3.3. By 2015, that was down to 3. By 2016, John Cena's last full-time year, Raw was down to 2.6 million viewers. That's a 40% ratings drop during the era that Cena was the unquestioned top star in the company. Now, before you at me and you say, well, TV was declining over that period. The NFL grew during that period. The NBA grew during that period. Major cable companies grew during that period. The UFC exploded during that period. WWE didn't just decline with the tide. They sank way faster than the tide. They were sinking like the Titanic. And it's because John Cena was on top. He was the face on every poster. He was in every commercial. He was in every main event. It was John Cena here, John Cena there. Before the WWE network changed their model, pay-per-view buys were the clearest indicator of fan interest. Let's look at how great Cena was in growing the business here. WrestleMania 23, Cena versus HBK, 1.2 million buys. WrestleMania 27, Cena versus Miz, 1 million buys. WrestleMania 28, Cena versus Rock, 1.2 million buys. Cena versus Rock 2, 1.04 million buys. Yes, they were the greatest grossing WrestleManias of all time because we're in stadiums and we're selling a lot more tickets, and now the ticket prices are going way up. So, of course, the company is making more money, not because of John Cena. Outside of the WrestleMania brand itself, Cena's pay-per-view numbers were flat or declining. From 2007 to 2013, WWE's non-Mania pay-per-view buys dropped by over 50%. That's not growth, that's erosion. WWE's own financial reports show the average North American attendance went down from 7,000 in 2005 to 5,000 by 2015, 30%. And if you were watching during that time, you remember the Hameen Tarp Emporium. Whole sections covered, camera sides blacked out. Company that once bragged about sellouts now began to brag about their atmosphere. Cena wasn't the cause, but he was the centerpiece of the product the fans were rejecting. The numbers tell one story and the booking tells another. During Cena's run on top, WWE didn't just fail to grow new stars, they were actively sabotaged by John Cena. The Nexus 2010 SummerSlam finish killed them all. Bray Wyatt 2014, mystique shattered after losing to Cena at WrestleMania 30. Rusev 2015, undefeated for a year. Cena beats him, never recovers. And my personal favorite, Damian Sandow, 2013 Money in the Bank cash in, fails clean to John Cena, another career derailed. Kevin Owens beats Cena in his debut, loses the feud, slides down the card. He's a staple of WWE TV, but never the prize fighter that he should have been. Hell, he played second fiddle to Chris Jericho in a piece of paper. It wasn't bad luck, it was a pattern. And the pattern told fans, don't get attached, Cena wins. And when the fans know the ending, they stop watching the story. WWE went PG in 2008. Cena became the face of the new direction. The result? Promo sanitized, storyline softened, violence toned way down, characters flattened, and adult fans looking for an alternative. Enter AEW. The product just lost its edge. It lost its unpredictability. It lost all cultural reference that it once had, and the numbers reflected. That's why they're still quoting The Rock, and they're still wearing Austin 316 shirts. Cena's reactions, iconic, not healthy. Let's go, Cena. Cena sucks. That wasn't passion. It wasn't fatigue. It was frustration. It was a fan base split in half, week after week, year after year. And a divided audience is a shrinking audience. Again, polarization. John Cena didn't destroy WWE, but the Cena era, the booking, the protection, the predictability, the PG identity coincided with a 40% ratings decline, 50% pay-per-view decline, 30% attendance decline, and a generation of superstars stalled or sacrificed. A product that lost its edge, its momentum, and its cultural footprint. John Cena the man, admirable. John Cena the worker, undeniable. John Cena as an ambassador, unmatched. But the Cena era, his real legacy, the numbers don't lie, and the numbers say John Cena was great for the brand, but not great for the business.
Through. Yeah. You want to go to the numbers here. You throw out a very small handful of opponents of the Nexus. There was one star, Daniel Bryan, who would even roll with the group, got fired when he couldn't come up with it here. You want to talk about the people that did thrive, were great rivals of John Cena's, that gone on to been stars. Edge, CM Punk, to name just two off the top of my head there. You want to talk about ratings, Jargo. That is an issue of, we went to PG, correct? You and I came up in a PG era, fell in love with professional wrestling in a PG era.
No, I object
Rock
to that.
and wrestling.
I object to that. No. I was a Horseman guy. The Horseman breaking Dusty's leg was anything
That's
but PG.
fair enough.
Thank you very much.
That is fair enough. But still, wrestling targeting kids. WWF then, in their first big boom, the Rock and Wrestling era, PG. They did not expect an audience to tune in from 9 to 11 to watch a product. You and I grew up watching wrestling in the morning, Saturday morning, cartoon slots, or the latest 6:05 start time, Eastern. It wasn't a later thing. When you are targeting a younger audience and you do not adjust your programming, you are going to see declines. You mentioned the pay-per-views outside of the major ones. As I said, he headlined how many of the top-selling ones? 15 or 8 of the 10.
50%.
8 of the 10. 8 of the 10. Let's not also forget during Cena's reign that they added. We were running 2 pay-per-views a month for a few years there. So you have an influx there of expenditures. Of course, you're going to see a decline in that numbers when you're adding the events like that. Those are all justifiable there. But what you also saw on that other side that you want to give that credit for is the QB. Who was that QB1 spot? Who was leading the charge from the superstar standpoint, a face for the PR purposes to go out there that would set the table for all these record distribution numbers that we're seeing, that would go globally to do that PR, to open up all of the new markets, learning a new freaking language to open up a new market for the company. The guy tirelessly put in the red eye to be there again. Someone had to step up. And in Cena's case, he wasn't a chosen one for that. He came from that incredible class. Very, very talented back there at OVW. You know, and he was he wasn't even on that radar. Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Batista. Those are the names that they had slated in there that was going to take the reins, that was going to lead the company going forward. They all bombed because they couldn't cut it. They didn't have the material deep down inside, the understanding of the business to rise to the top, to play the game, maintain the game, stay at the game, to rise above it all, to elevate the game that John Cena did. Those are the truths of what it takes to be a leader and be a champion. And John Cena demonstrated all of that. In the ring, we get questions of booking decisions, I guess. You know, the Nexus thing is of great debate. Would have that a springboard at those guys? Who was really that great? Maybe Barrett gets a better rub from that. Daniel Bryan was the only star that came from them. You mentioned Sami Sandow, a few others there. They weren't superstars in this business. They didn't want to grab that brass ring. They were just there. And they can point all the finger that they want. But Cena went on and proved with the stats, with the figures, what he could do. Inside the ring, who did he ever injure? Safe-ass worker. Put on a show. Knew how to play to the crowds. Knew how to evoke emotion. All the way around. One of the absolute best. And to do it for the stretch that he did. An incredible legacy that's unmatched.
So we'll turn it over to you, the jury. The listeners, the watchers, hit us up in the comments. We'll, if we get any really, really good ones, we'll read them back to you on next week's show, and we will let you know what the verdict is. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with the Huckleberry? What is John Cena's real professional wrestling legacy? Rick, let's talk Elimination Chamber just a little bit before we get out of here this week. Let's start. Well, let's kind of run down this card. Okay. So you have Punk versus Balor, which we've talked about a little bit both last week and this week. Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee. And then, of course, we have the 2 chamber matches. In the women's match, we have Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Kiana James. Didn't see that one coming. And Raquel Rodriguez to face off with Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. Do any of these feel like a WrestleMania match to you? I mean, I guess if I had to pick one, I think I would pick Rhea, but I don't think Rhea is going to win this match.
Yeah, this women's match is pretty perplexing. When we look at the possibilities coming out of it. Let me start here with the event itself. We have seen that they are having trouble right now across the board, moving interest here for the chamber. All these, dozen or so dates that they have to fill on the road to WrestleMania. And we know everybody's been talking about the struggles they're having out in the desert in Vegas about getting fans asses in the seats for these things. I think one of the major issues is overscheduling, as we just talked about a little bit here. Going back to our heyday, remember that? Rumble, we're on the road to WrestleMania. All eyes, full gear. Let's go. Let's get going. I think an event like the Chamber is doing more harm, more damage than helping out the interest and intrigue. Instead of playing out what are the potentials, we should have some more set in stone matches, getting geared up, travel plans, things like that in store for WrestleMania. So I think this event inside of itself is more of a deterrent than anything else, hyping up the intrigue, the interest, the excitement level for WrestleMania. This women's match, you're right. I think again, they have put so much emphasis on the women's tag division right now. And I think, kudos to them for that. There's a lot going on in there, a lot of interchangeable parts, a lot of teams got some bad beefs with each other here, a lot of different unique combinations that are of a little bit of interest. So that's a good talking point for the WWE. With that, the women's tag seems such more of a focal point than either of the women's singles divisions, if it be the red brand or the blue brand here. I see more coming out of this match, storyline development for the tag division. I've been saying, I think we're getting set up for a historic, first ever that they love doing, women's TLC tag team championship match at WrestleMania. And I think that sells a hell of a lot more than either of the women's singles. If I'm looking at this from a tag team standpoint, Rhea Ripley involved in a tag team, Alexa Bliss in a tag team, Asuka in a tag team, Kiana James in a tag team, Raquel Rodriguez in a tag team. I think Tiffany Stratton, she has the look, the physique, and the star power to stand next to Jade Cargill in promos and on a poster and try to sell that thing, particularly for ESPN.
My only problem with Tiffany Stratton is her character. That's my only problem with Tiffany Stratton. She
you want to get me started on this?
Oh yeah. No, I know we're on the same page with this. She is a heel. She's the whole Tiffy time gimmick. It's a heel gimmick, and she's presents like
she's the type of person that we cheer when they get hit by buses in the movies.
Yeah. And I'm sure she's a sweet girl. It's nothing against her personally. Just that character, there's nothing likable about that character to me. And when you have unlikable Tiffany against unlikable Jade, who do I want to win that?
It's just like going back when Jade had the case and Tiffany had the championship. It was like,
it's a bad matchup.
Who do you cheer for here? They're both unlikable. There's no redeemable qualities about it. And the worst part with Tiffany is they had chance after chance last year to have the redemption story, teaming her up with Trish Stratus. It would have been a perfect opportunity of Trish saying, I was once like this. I had the looks. I was the go-to blonde with the bombshell body, and I was on top of the world, and I was so full of myself. But Tiffany, I realized it's about the people that support you. It's about them fueling your journey. You had an opportunity to do that, but they didn't understand that. They don't have a right for any of these women. Again, beating my head against that brick wall every time they go out, every time they show them, if it's the stupid walk-ins or a backstage vignette, they're all hugging each other. No women act like that.
Right.
You come from a household of women, raise girls. Is that how they act?
Nope. Nope. But the other problem with Tiffany Stratton is she never turned. She is still the same character that she was when she was a heel. And anybody who's ever listened to me do podcasting before has heard me say this before. But for those of you that are new, I'll repeat. A heel turning on a heel does not make a babyface.
Right.
Like Tiffany has never had any kind of redeeming arc to turn her into a babyface. She is still the same character. She just got beat up by Nia Jax. A heel turning on a heel does not make a babyface. And for some reason, that's WWE's favorite turn.
Just because you're the least unlikable bitch doesn't make you a baby. Just because they hated Charlotte more doesn't make you a babyface. Just because they hated Nia Jax more doesn't make you the babyface. Everything you do is still that Valley girl. Again, that's the whole purpose of Mean Girls, is to see somebody like Tiffany get hit by a bus.
Yep. It's not good.
But this is, you did mention that there, and it is surprising. Kiana James, old person boots.
Yeah, didn't see that one coming.
No, they're high on big time on them gimmicks.
I feel like this was Bianca Belair's spot, and she's just not going to be back in time for Mania, right? I mean, that's the real problem here, right? And it's not just Bianca Belair, obviously. Injuries are mounting up. We didn't even talk about Bronson Reed and the Cursed Vision. I mean, that could be an episode all by itself.
And not an injury, but circumstance. This would completely change this if Bianca wasn't going through what she's going through. If she's going through some nerve damage in her head, my heart goes out to her. I'm dealing with some neuropathy right now issues. It is incredibly painful. She's had
like 3 surgeries now, trying to fix a finger. Like,
and I know it's just sound. Believe me, the pain she is going through right now.
Oh, it's awful.
And I'm sure mentally to know, something like that is what's holding her back from missing a grand stage like this. But even, how much different would it be with Naomi if she was available right now?
Yeah, that's another one where she's out. Yeah, you
bet. I think Stratton's just kind of your obvious choice. I think the rest are all going to go into some sort of big gimmick match with the women's tag. I'm leaning towards a first ever women's tag team TLC. You know how they love doing those.
Well, and the other problem I have with Tiffany Stratton is who leads that match. You know what I mean? Like there's no way this is going to be a good match. 5
minutes, 10 curtain to curtain, get in and out.
Damn.
Get in and out on that one.
Then on the men's side, we have poor Drew McIntyre, because the men's match, Randy Orton, LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, Javon Evans, Trick Willie, and Jey Uso. Jey Uso, I don't think was supposed to be in this match. I think it was supposed to be Bronson Reed. And the problem there is not the star power, obviously. I feel like Jey may even be a little bit higher on the ranking chart than Bronson Reed. But when you look at the athletes that are in this match, Bronson Reed was the base for all the big spots that are going to be coming. Like, he was the base for whatever Trick Williams and Javon Evans, the more athletic people in the match, he was the base. And anybody that's ever done any kind of gymnastics knows what I'm talking about. When you need a good, solid base, it ain't going to be Randy Orton. Randy Orton ain't going to let you do any of that shit off of his shoulders. Not happening. LA Knight, they don't necessarily trust him to be the base inside of the match. Cody is going to be working in this match. Yeah, he is going to have to be the workhorse, call it in the ring guy. And I don't think that was originally his role. I'm really worried about this chamber match, let alone the outcome, and then what awaits poor Drew McIntyre on the other side.
I love how you break it down there. What should have probably been the potential role for Bronson Reed in this is exactly why I like Raquel Rodriguez in that women's, because she gives you a big heel monster to work off of. That would have been Bronson Reed's role inside of the men's chamber. Without him here, the addition of Jey Uso, if that was the plan, but even how it's set here, Trick Williams is your only heel in this match. You talk about someone's going to have to work their tail off. Trick Williams is going to have to get a lot of heat generated towards him in this match.
And he might be the most over guy in the match right now. I mean, Trick Willie is getting some ridiculous pops right now.
People like the look. They like it different. They like the catchphrases.
I think I would put Trick Williams over. I genuinely do. I think I would put Trick Williams over, and I think I would have him beat Drew McIntyre, turning babyface at WrestleMania, and just anoint a new star. Just like immediately make it known Trick Williams is a main event player straight out of the gate. Do the same thing with Obafemi and Brock Lesnar. Like, you got to make new stars. You could make two of them right here, right now.
Shot. I would absolutely, as you talked about, poor Drew. In the sense of what's for Drew? What is the big marquee match? What is going to be that sex appeal that's going to sell this here?
Because
I love the conversation that you're having. What have we got to lose?
The obvious answer is Cody, right? That's the obvious. If you want a main event
I don't think that's a draw.
Nobody wants to see Cody versus Drew McIntyre again. You have blown that load. That Kleenex is already over there in the corner. We are done with that Kleenex. Nobody wants to jerk off into the same Kleenex twice. And that's what you'd be asking us to do at WrestleMania. Nobody wants that match.
One of the things sitting in these studios on the air for almost the past decade, and an amazing experience, front row seat, the learning tree sitting under Hameen of Strangler, of Silvio, who just announced his retirement from pro wrestling, brother. Congratulations on a great run.
Shout out to him.
Best of luck and everything. From the Beast, from Timmy Bolton, on and on, from the vet that we've heard from them. That's preaching, once you have run through a championship run, the next bigger step is something personal. Cody needs to be removed from the championship right now. We need to get invested with something personal with him. And I think they have that right there. The fire is right there with Jacob Fatu.
Yep.
Give me those two one-on-one and something that is more than a championship. Something that is deep-rooted, that we can emotionally get connected with those guys. I think that's the right choice there. But then that leaves that open-ended. Who for Drew? Who can step up to sell that match, to make that championship mean something in the biggest moment, like a WrestleMania? When I look at this lineup here, Randy Orton, I think that is magnificent on a poster, on a billboard. ESPN would absolutely love to have those two up there at the mothership, hanging out, hitting the studios, doing the PR thing to push. Check us out. We don't need Stephanie's VPN. Just go to the ESPN Plus app. They're going to love something like that. That resonates with the Lapsed fan, with the casual fan. LA Knight, of course, is going to hit with your hardcore fans. So they're waiting for it. Big Brighton Center right there on that entrance this past week. Going to push LA Knight. Yep. The people want it. You brought up the point, though. Do they trust him in that spot? Is it one of those cases where, hey, let's do it. Let's roll. We're in Vegas, baby. Let's roll the dice on LA Knight. Well, I really like what you said here. Let's make a new star on the biggest stage. Let's really roll the dice. Let's double down all in on this thing with Trick Williams. And more than that, Trick doesn't look like everyone else either. Now we're creating an ethnic superstar on the biggest stage. Who comes out of this thing? Maybe that's the intrigue. Where are we going? There's a couple options that I really like. I'm looking forward to see what Javon Evans does in this match. Young kid is so damn good.
It's going to be absurd.
He is so athletic. The way he moves, the way he uses his body, stretches himself out. I mean, he makes that ring look like half the size because the way he creates that movement and uses his body, stretches him out. Absolutely.
I have both Javon and Jey Uso. I have it like a 0.1 chance of winning this match. Like, I'm fine with both of them being in the match. Don't get me wrong. I just don't feel like either one of them is coming out of this as the number one contender to Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania.
No. You get the big pop moment with Jay. He'll probably be one of the first people to start the match because you need that prolonged. You fill up the other quads and then you have him out as one of the first two, so you can do the prolonged, run it back, all that kind of thing. Big pop moment, which they're into.
I think for me, I think Randy Orton is the favorite for me, but I think I would go with Trick Williams. That's my personal take. I think I would go with Trick Williams. I'm
not against that. I love that conversation. I think they're going to go with Trick and Carmelo at WrestleMania, which I think will be a hell of a match. Great on the undercard one of the nights.
I don't know, man. When they did that triple threat last week, where Trick qualified for the Chamber. And
they were in the first qualifying match together too, that either of them won. Right? Or was that they were in another match, qualifying match. I believe it was for the contender at the Royal Rumble, and they barely mentioned any of their history. They mentioned it in passing.
And Tessitore was the same way on SmackDown last week. And it was just like, this story is right here for the taking.
Right. That's why I think maybe.
And you're just not telling it.
And it's there. It's a great story to get people invested in it. You got all the footage. It's on one of your programs. And it helps you promote NXT. You know, hey, we're going to recap this for you. But this is why you should be watching NXT, because these future stars that we're seeing now, they got history. You want to be a part of that. Watch them on their. Again, this is where they miss on their marketing.
Yeah, I don't get it. Last thing before we get out of here this week, one of my favorite movies is Seven. You've seen the movie Seven, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, Rick, I'm gonna ask you the question. The box. What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
Why is it got to be a human? Everyone think it is a human. Someone's living in that thing for weeks.
I think it's a statue of Triple H.
That's what I've been saying. A life-size statue that must be presented at the entrance at every show. I've been saying the exact same thing. It is a life-size, or R-Truth might have given it away last week when he said he didn't know what a slammy is. It might be a 10-foot slammy that Triple H is going to award himself for a Lifetime Achievement Award.
So, along those same lines, who's the headliner at the Hall of Fame? AJ Styles or Stephanie McMahon?
Oh, God, come on. AJ Styles. Have you heard anyone talking? Hold on.
I mean, for me, it's AJ Styles, but
this is where
I would not be shocked if it was Stephanie McMahon.
This is where you and I have differed over the years, where you stand by that the main event goes on last. No, the main event's why you buy the ticket.
That's fair.
Now, they might put Stephanie out there last, but she ain't no main event. She's not the headliner. It's AJ. Phenomenal Styles.
The main event is the reason that you buy the ticket? Who was the main event from 2005 until 26? Oh, John Cena. And live attendance went down 30%. So that's going to wrap things up for this week's show. Thanks for watching and or listening. And please make sure that you mash that subscribe button. Keep up with the show by searching Hitting the Marks on your favorite podcast listening device. Don't keep up with me because chances are I don't want to talk to you. Instead, hit up the vet over at Opinion Haver. Huckleberry, how do the peeps, the freaks, and the geeks keep up with you?
Well, I do want to put out there a shout out starting next week. That's 0303 at 3 p.m. We have a new program debuting here on the Hameen Media Group platform. It's we're going to take, I like it raw. We're going to take SmackTac. We're going to bundle them all up into one perfect little package for you. We're going to call it This Week in WWE. We're going to run down the red and blue headlines, happenings, all of that kind of stuff. So that's going to be Tuesdays at 3 p.m., kicking off March 3rd at 3 p.m. Again, at 3, we talk WWE. It's going to be Jimmy T and myself. And I'm going to have a little dinner, turn it back around and get here for Hitting the Marks. And then we lead in to After Dark with Let's Go Brandon, who's waiting on the on-deck circle to get in here and take his swings. But yeah, next week, 03 at 3 p.m. Eastern. Debut episode of This Week in WWE with Jimmy T and myself. And then, of course, Jargo and I will be back at 7 p.m. Eastern next week with an all-new episode of Hitting the Marks, officially on the road to WrestleMania. Hopefully we have a lot more answers here about this card.
Hopefully we have something AEW to talk about. Like, this is not a WWE show for anybody that's, just getting familiar with Rick and I. We like to talk about everything going on in professional wrestling. It's weird because AEW feels like it's the better show right now, and there's nothing going on. Like, there's nothing to talk about, and yet it still somehow feels like it's the better show to me. We will talk to you next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, let's pour one out for poor Drew McIntyre. We'll see you around.
Oh, Drew McIntyre walked into the pub, said, pour me something strong, lads, life's been rough. The bartender sighed, said, I heard the tale. You lost another match, or did your kill just fail? So raise your glass for poor Drew McIntyre. His luck so bad it couldn't get higher. If fate was a lass, she'd call him a liar. Oh, poor Drew McIntyre. He trained all year for a title shot grand, then tripped on the ramp before he even hit the stand. The ref looked away, the lights all blew. A pigeon flew in and distracted Drew. The crowd all gasped, oh no, not again! Drew just sighed, hey lads, that makes 10. So raise your glass for poor Drew McIntyre. His luck so cursed it may require a priest, a wizard, and a campfire. Oh, poor Drew McIntyre. He's a warrior, hey, but unlucky. He's a hero, hey, but clumsy. Will live someday, hey, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Let's not get carried away. He once swung his sword with a mighty roar, but the blade got stuck in the tavern door. He tried to look tough, but the crowd just stared. Then the door fell off and everyone cheered. He bowed real proud like a Highland king, then slipped on a haggis, poor lad can't wait. So raise your glass for poor Drew McIntyre. His saga's funnier than a Killie choir. One day he'll triumph, climb even higher. But till then, oh poor Drew McIntyre. Poor Drew, poor Drew. He's trying his best. Bless him.